November 19th, 2005. Real Madrid against Barcelona. The biggest match in world football. The white stadium of his enemies. The Bernabeu was full. 80,000 voices, all of them against him. Ronaldinho scored his first goal early. The stadium stayed silent. Then, in the second half, he picked up the ball near the halfway line. He looked up, he smiled. Then he started the dance. His hips swayed. The first defender came. He danced past him. His shoulders rolled. The second defender came. He danced past him too. The crowd held its breath. The goalkeeper, Iker Casillas, rushed out. Ronaldinho lifted his head. Calm as a child in a Brazilian park, he placed the ball softly into the far corner. And by the end of this story, you may understand why millions of people loved him, long after they had forgotten the scores. This is the story of Ronaldinho. Ronaldo de Assis Moreira was born on the 21st of March, 1980, in Porto Alegre, southern Brazil. His family lived in a poor neighborhood called Vila Nova. The house was small. It was made of wood. His father, João, worked as a welder at a shipyard. On weekends, he played football for a small amateur club. He loved the game. He passed that love to his sons. His mother, Miguelina, sold cosmetics door to door. Later, she studied at night to become a nurse. There was an older son, Roberto, 9 years older. Already a young star at Grêmio, one of Porto Alegre's 2 big clubs. The new baby followed his brother everywhere. He was always the smallest, so the other boys gave him a name. They called him Ronaldinho. In Portuguese, Inho means little. Ronaldinho meant little Ronaldo. He would carry that name his whole life. The family did not have enough money for football boots, but he did not need boots to be happy. He just needed a ball. And his father. In 1987, Roberto signed a professional contract with Grêmio. The club gave the family a gift, a bigger house in a better neighborhood. The house had a swimming pool. For the first time, the family had escaped poverty, and it was football that had given them this new life. Then, in early 1989, everything changed. Ronaldinho's father had a heart attack while he was in the swimming pool. He drowned. Ronaldinho was 8 years old. The pool that football had given them took his father away. Now, my friend, I want you to imagine something with me. A small boy, 8 years old, standing in the doorway of his bedroom. His mother is crying. His brother is crying. The boy does not know what to do. His father had been more than a father. He had been the first man who told him that football was a joyful thing, the first man who taught him to laugh when he scored. João had once told his sons something simple. Do the right thing. Be honest. Be a straight-up man. The boy would remember those words for the rest of his life. But on this day, the boy was thinking about a face, his father's face. The way it smiled when they played football together. The boy made a decision then, quietly, in his own heart, without telling anyone. He decided he would not let the world take his smile, too. After the funeral, the family struggled. Miguelina worked several jobs. Then football took something else. Roberto suffered a serious injury. His dream was over before it had truly begun. But instead of giving up, he chose a different dream. Before sunrise each morning, he woke his little brother. Get up, Ronaldinho. We have work to do. He took the 8-year-old to a small indoor futsal court near their home. The space was tight. The ball was heavier. There was no room to think, only room to create. Most boys found it frustrating. Ronaldinho found freedom. When defenders closed him down, he smiled. When the ball bounced strangely across the concrete, he smiled. His body danced before his mind decided where to go. The defenders guessed. He simply played. Without knowing it, that little futsal court was shaping a player the world would never forget. When Ronaldinho was 13, his youth team won 23-0. He scored all 23 goals. After almost every goal, he looked toward the sky, as if saying, "I'm still playing, Dad." Grêmio knew they had someone special. At 17, Ronaldinho helped Brazil win the Under-17 World Cup. 2 years later, he debuted for the senior national team and lifted the Copa America. Before turning 20, he was already one of Brazil's brightest young stars. But the rest of the world still had no idea who he was. That was about to change. In 2001, Paris Saint-Germain brought him to Europe. He was 21 years old. Paris became his classroom. He showed flashes of brilliance, but outside France, most football fans still did not know his name. Then came the summer of 2002. The World Cup was held in South Korea and Japan. Brazil arrived with 3 attacking players nicknamed the 3 Rs: Ronaldo, Rivaldo, and Ronaldinho. In the quarter-final, Brazil faced England. The score was 1-1 in the second half. Brazil won a free kick around 35 meters from the goal, far away on the right side. It was too far to shoot. Most players would have crossed the ball into the box. Ronaldinho looked at the goal. He looked at the English goalkeeper, David Seaman. Then he smiled. He had noticed something. Seaman was standing too far from his goal line. He took 2 steps back. His shoulders rolled once. He ran. He hit the ball. The ball did not fly straight. It curled. It dipped. It floated through the air, like a balloon. Seaman jumped backwards, his arms reaching, but it was too late. The ball dropped over his hands and into the top corner of the net. The English fans went silent. Ronaldinho ran across the pitch, arms wide, smiling at the sky. Brazil went on to win the World Cup that year, their 5th title. Ronaldinho lifted the trophy at 22 years old. That night, in the dressing room, he held the trophy in his hands. Then, very softly, he smiled. "Dad, are you watching?" What is coming next is something no one inside Real Madrid ever expected. A decision made because of a face. A decision that became the most expensive mistake in their history. In the summer of 2003, 2 of the biggest clubs in the world wanted to sign him. The first was Manchester United. Sir Alex Ferguson wanted him to replace David Beckham. According to Ronaldinho himself, the deal was a matter of 48 hours. The second was Real Madrid. They were building a team of stars called the Galacticos. In a meeting room at the Bernabeu, the men in charge of selling shirts looked at 2 photographs. One photograph showed David Beckham, the English captain, famous around the world. A face that already sold millions of shirts in London, Tokyo, Bangkok, and Los Angeles. The other photograph showed a young Brazilian, buck teeth, wide nose, an unusual smile. One of the men in the room later told a Spanish newspaper what was said. "How ugly is Ronaldinho? He is so ugly that he would sink you as a brand. Just look at Beckham. The class, the image, the whole of Asia has fallen in love with us because of Beckham. Ronaldinho is too ugly. They chose Beckham." My friend, choosing Beckham was not a wrong decision. He did sell millions of shirts. The wrong decision was choosing only Beckham. Because the man they called too ugly was about to become the most beloved face in world football. So Ronaldinho went to Barcelona. The transfer fee was around 30 million euros. It was, perhaps, the most expensive mistake in the history of Real Madrid. Barcelona, in 2003, was not the great club we know today. They had not won La Liga in 4 years. The dressing room was quiet. The fans were tired. The ugly Brazilian arrived. From his first training, the players noticed something strange. He did not run like a footballer. He moved like a footballer. His hips swayed when he walked. His shoulders rolled when he ran. His head nodded to a rhythm only he could hear. He smiled at his teammates. He smiled at the trainers. He smiled at the ball before he kicked it. In his first season, Barcelona finished second in the league. The fans began to wake up. The dressing room began to laugh again. That something was joy. In the summer of 2004, a shy Argentinian boy joined the first team. He was 17 years old. His name was Lionel Messi. After Messi's first session with the senior team, Ronaldinho turned to one of the staff members. He said, "Are you crazy? This kid is special." In the months that followed, Ronaldinho took the young Argentinian under his wing, the biggest star in world football, quietly protecting the smallest. He showed him that football could still be a joyful thing. He taught Messi how to smile, too. The opponent was Chelsea, the English champions, coached by a young Portuguese named José Mourinho. Chelsea had not lost at home in 2 years. It was the Champions League round of 16, the first leg. 20 minutes in, the dream was already dying. Chelsea scored. Then Chelsea scored again. 2-0. Then Ronaldinho got the ball. He was 30 meters from goal. 3 Chelsea defenders surrounded him. There was no space to dribble, no angle to shoot. For most players, this was a dead end. For the small boy from a futsal court in Porto Alegre, this was a Wednesday morning. He stood almost still. He looked at the goal, and he smiled. Then, without taking a backswing, he flicked the ball with the outside of his right boot. The ball moved sideways. Then it curved. Then it dipped. It slipped past the defender's legs. It slipped past Petr Cech's outstretched hand. It nestled gently into the corner of the goal. Stamford Bridge fell silent. 10 minutes later, he scored again. He danced past one defender, then another. Then he placed the ball calmly past Cech. 2 goals in 12 minutes. Inside the fortress of the English champions. A football that came from samba, not from textbooks. A football that smiled, and the world began to wonder, was this man even from this planet? 2 months later, on the 1st of May 2005, Barcelona played against Albacete. It was a quiet league match at Camp Nou. Late in the match, the coach made a substitution. Lionel Messi came on. He was 17 years old. He had never scored for the first team before. A few minutes later, Ronaldinho looked up. He saw Messi running into space behind the defense. He chipped the ball delicately into the path of the young Argentinian. Messi caught the ball in stride. He lifted it over the goalkeeper. The first goal of his career, assisted by Ronaldinho. Many years later, Messi would say, "Ronaldinho helped me a lot. He made me feel comfortable. He took me under his wing." A father had once told Ronaldinho, "Do the right thing. Be honest. Be a straight-up man." Lifting up a shy boy from Argentina, that was Ronaldinho, doing the right thing. A few weeks later, Barcelona won La Liga, their first title in 6 years. Ronaldinho was named FIFA World Player of the Year, yet the greatest night of his career was still to come. November 19th, 2005, Real Madrid against Barcelona, the biggest match in world football. The white stadium of his enemies. The Bernabeu was full, 80,000 voices, all of them against him. Ronaldinho scored his first goal early. The stadium stayed silent. Then, in the second half, he picked up the ball near the halfway line. He looked up, he smiled. Then he started the dance. His hips swayed. The first defender came. He danced past him. His shoulders rolled. The second defender came. He danced past him too. The crowd held its breath. The goalkeeper, Iker Casillas, rushed out. Ronaldinho lifted his head. Calm as a child in a Brazilian park, he placed the ball softly into the far corner. 2 goals at the Bernabeu, in the white stadium of his enemies. Then something happened that no one had ever seen before. The Real Madrid fans stood up, 80,000 of them. The enemy crowd, the people who had hated Barcelona their whole lives, they stood up and they clapped for the player wearing the rival shirt. It had only happened once before in that stadium. In 1983, an Argentinian had received the same ovation. His name was Diego Maradona. Now, 22 years later, the second man was a Brazilian, with buck teeth and a wide nose, and a smile no enemy could resist. That night, somewhere in the noise and the lights, Ronaldinho looked up to the sky. He smiled. "Dad, did you see it?" A few weeks later, in December 2005, he won the Ballon d'Or. He had reached the top of football. In May 2006, Barcelona won the Champions League final in Paris. Ronaldinho was 26 years old. For 3 years, he had been the best footballer in the world. Then, something began to change. The joy that Ronaldinho had on the pitch began to follow him off the pitch. The parties started early and finished late. Some nights in Barcelona, the sun came up while he was still out. His teammates began to notice. He arrived at training with heavy eyes. He moved a little slower. He laughed a little less. It was not one big mistake. It was many small ones. A late night, a missed training session, a few extra kilograms, a few more injuries. And while Ronaldinho was slowing down, someone else was rising. The quiet boy from Argentina was no longer quiet. Lionel Messi was becoming the new face of football. In 2008, Barcelona's cycle with Ronaldinho was finished. He was sold to AC Milan in Italy. Before he left, Ronaldinho did one final thing. He went to Messi, the boy he had once protected, the boy who was now the future of the club. And he said, "Take number 10. It is yours now." The number 10 shirt, worn by Pelé, worn by Maradona, worn by Ronaldinho, was passed from one wizard to another. Messi later said, "I would have liked to play more years with him. What happened was ugly. He did not deserve that, after everything he did for the club. The biggest star in the world, choosing to lift up the boy who would one day surpass him. There was no jealousy. There was only joy." A father had once said, "Do the right thing. Be honest. Be a straight-up man." This was him doing the right thing. One last time, before he walked out the door. At Milan, the dance was thinner. The smile came less often. He played 3 seasons in Italy, some good, most quiet. He returned home to Brazil. It looked like the story was over. Then, in 2013, at a Brazilian club called Atlético Mineiro, something beautiful happened. Mineiro had never won the Copa Libertadores, the South American Champions League. They had been close many times. They had never lifted it. Then, a 33-year-old man arrived at the club, with older legs. But here is the thing about smiles, my friend. They do not retire when the legs do. The first morning Ronaldinho walked into the Mineiro dressing room, the younger players were nervous. They had grown up watching him on television. Instead, a 33-year-old man walked in, and he smiled at them. He smiled like he had smiled in Villanova, like he had smiled at Stamford Bridge, like he had smiled at the Bernabeu. The Brazilian dance came back. It was slower than before, it was heavier, but it was still there. His hips still swayed, his shoulders still rolled. When he played, the younger players around him began to play with joy again. In the semifinal, he scored a free kick. It bent through the night air. The old magic. One more time. Mineiro lifted the Copa Libertadores for the first time in their history. He was named the South American Footballer of the Year. He smiled when he lifted the trophy. The smile was older now, a little tired, but still there. The same smile he had chosen in a small house in Vila Nova 25 years earlier. He retired officially in 2018. It was not the ending many people had imagined. Some said he could have been even greater. Greater than Messi, greater than Cristiano Ronaldo. But maybe the point was never to be the best. The point was to keep smiling. 6 trophies. The FIFA World Cup, the Copa America, the FIFA Confederations Cup, the UEFA Champions League, the Copa Libertadores, the Ballon d'Or. One man in the history of football has won them all. Not Pelé, not Maradona, not Messi, not Cristiano Ronaldo. Only Ronaldinho. He was not the most disciplined player. He was not the most efficient, and he was certainly not the most obsessed with records. But he achieved something none of them did, because Ronaldinho spent his career chasing something different. Not perfection, a smile. And sometimes a smile takes you further than anyone expects. My friend, I want to stop the story here and speak to you. The story of Ronaldinho was never really about football. It was about a decision an 8-year-old boy made, in the quiet of his own heart, without telling anyone. He decided he would not let the world take his smile. That smile became his language, his shield, his weapon. The thing that made 80,000 enemies stand up and clap. The thing that made a quiet boy from Argentina feel at home in a foreign country. The thing he was still carrying at 33 years old when he lifted one last trophy in Brazil. And here is what I want to leave with you tonight. Maybe somewhere in your life there is a smile too. A smile you have lost. A smile the world took from you. A smile you stopped using because someone told you it was foolish, or naive, or too much. But maybe that smile is not gone. Maybe it is just waiting for you to remember the small boy in Vila Nova, the boy who lost his father, the boy who had every reason in the world to stop smiling, and who decided, quietly, to keep going anyway. Because joy was not a feeling, my friend. For him, it was a decision. And he made it every day, for the rest of his life.